Hello everyone. So I'm back again for yet another book video review, and this is going to be for a fiction book written by author Kohan Killetz. The book's title is 7 Times and 7 Times I Bow. It's really an interesting read because if you are into history, if you are into the ancient age, the Bronze Age, and if you love everything about the Middle Eastern history, about the pharaoh, and about the princesses, the kings, and how people conquer one nation, and how people were conquered back in the Bronze Age, the kinds of real tortures people go through. So if you are into these kinds of story, you'll definitely love this book. So before I dive into the review of the book, let's look into the structure of my book video review. So the first aspect of my review is going to be based on the internal layout of the book. So I was reading an ebook, and the second aspect is going to be based on the internal the plot development, right? So the first is the internal layout of the book, the second is the plot development, how well connected one chapter is with another, and the last one is going to be on key takeaway message. So now, internal layout of the book, I would say it's fairly easy to read. The spacing, the font, it was all really well thought out, and I thought that it's easy to read, it's easy to follow through. I believe even if it is in the paperback format, it's going to be easy to read as well, with the formatting, with the current formatting that the ebook has. So it's 10 out of 10 for that, because I don't judge a book by its cover. So 10 out of 10 for that. And the plot development, I would say that it's really interesting because you get to see how well the author has actually researched, or how well the author knows about what he's writing in this book. Like, as you go through, you can actually sense that, you can feel that you are in that era. You can feel that you are really reading something that is relevant to the Bronze Age, and it's not just something, it is a work of fiction. However, a lot of it is actually based on real accounts, real people, and people who have existed before, inspired by real events. And the author has actually developed a story, or come out with a story based on his creativity, but those inspiration for the story, those are coming from real events and from his knowledge, whatever that he has read before, he has researched before. So that really shines through the book, and because of that, the continuity of chapters from one another is really intact, I would say. So it's easy to follow through. The author knows what he's doing, and it's 400 plus pages, so it's not to say a short book for a fiction book. However, you will not feel that the book is repetitive, or redundant plots, or redundant storyline, where you will feel that you're just losing interest in between. I mean, this happens a lot with fiction book. I mean, if it's not being well researched, especially books that are related to history, I mean, if it is not well researched, you wouldn't be able to follow through. But this is not the case with author Kohan Killetz's book, because he knows what he's writing about. So it's really easy to follow through, very intense. You will meet different characters, like from the antagonist to the protagonist, really intense characters. And I have to say that you will come across parts of the book where things are really graphic, you know, because this whole story is about in the setting of kings, and you know, those kings are invading other places, people, and you know what they do back then in that era. They don't treat women well, so you get to see the real graphic aspect of it, the explanation part of it. So it's not something that is suitable for probably children below 18, right? So but however, I think it is important, and I applaud the effort of the author to keep it real, because I think that's what happened back then. That is what happened back then. And the author has actually made sure that he tells the story as it is, like, you know, without any filter. So that's something that you need to have on mind when you're reading this book. And I do not think that anybody who thinks that this is going to be purely history and, you know, without any graphic elements of it, I think you will be disappointed, because this is based on real accounts, whatever that has happened before and whatever that people do not talk about. So you will see a lot of that in the dialogues, in the plot development, and coming to and plot development, I would say I really enjoyed, and it's really thoroughly well researched, and for that I would say this is 10 out of 10 for plot development. And the key takeaway message here is I really think that at the end of the day, like, you know, what the author is trying to say in this book is really to portray life as it was during the Bronze Age, and not just to portray men as the dominant characters, as dominant people back then. Even women had their role back then, you know. So and I think that aspect has definitely shined through in this book, and you will see how the evil and the good and the evil, you know, which one wins at the end of the day. And you will definitely be able to relate to that and appreciate that part of it. So that's something that I feel is real. The author has kept it very real and very relevant. So for that, I have to say, I would say it's 8 out of 10. I would say the key takeaway message, although you may need to probably develop or maybe derive your own conclusion, or how you perceive things to be. But I think from his story, I felt that how human being has been back then, and how we all came through it. We are all coming from that generation, and how people have been back then. So things are really real out there, and how not just men but also women had their part to play in it, which we do not necessarily see, but it is there. So although you don't really see it in the story, it's like it's not as obvious as it is, but you can definitely see the characters playing their roles, and that is where the beauty lies, I guess, for this book. And that's something that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and I felt like, you know, being transported back to the Bronze Age itself to experience what it could be back then, you know, life could be back then. So for that, I would say that this book has scored 28 out of 30, so that is almost a 5-star review. I would definitely recommend you to check this book out on Amazon and get a copy of it and read the book. The author will definitely be delighted to read your reviews on Amazon.